Public discourse ethics. The realm of the public sphere, where public institution and government must respect diversity of opinions by upholding the First Amendment rights of all citizens, guaranteeing them the right to free speech and to challenge public policy, so that all voices will be acknowledged and heard. Did you know that government officials and institutions are mandated by law to be upholders of the Constitution? Which means by law, every American citizen has the right to free speech and not selected speech. Hello, my name is Justin Capouellez, and I will be guiding you through Chapter 6, Public Discourse Ethics. Along this journey, I will illuminate public discourse ethics through a movie clip from the movie The Great Debaters, regarding the sanctity of the public space, one's right to air diverse opinions, and the potential it has to change minds and move hearts, even today. Then our time together will conclude with a scholarly journal calling for greater government transparency. As you can see, public discourse ethics encompasses free speech rights all the way down to public accountability and transparency. Public discourse, according to Arnett, can be easily broken down into three metaphors. Public discourse, differentiation of public and private space, and public decision-making. Let's begin. Public discourse ethics are marked by diversity of ideas through public engagement. It engages an audience who will agree, disagree, and dialogue. It's a space for temporal decision-making about the temporal right answer in a given situation and in a given moment. Please, take a moment to view this emotional clip from the movie The Great Debaters, involving an example of public discourse during the time of segregation and Jim Crow laws in the South.
Force upon the South what they are not ready for would result in nothing but more racial hatred. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, he's perhaps the most eminent Negro scholar in America. He comments, "It's a silly waste of money, time, and temper to try and compel a powerful majority to do what they are determined not to do."
My opponent so conveniently chose to ignore the fact that W.E.B. Du Bois is the first Negro to receive a PhD from a white college.
Hold Harvard. Dr. Du Bois, he adds, "It is impossible for a Negro to receive a proper education at a white college."
The most eminent Negro scholar in America is the product of an Ivy League education. You see, Du Bois knows all too well the white man's resistance to change. But that's no reason to keep a black man out of any college. If someone didn't force upon the South something it wasn't ready for, I'd still be in chains and this book here be running from Old Massa.
I do admit it. It is true. Far too many whites are afflicted with the disease of racial hatred. And because of racism, it would be impossible for a Negro to be happy at a Southern white college today. And if someone is unhappy, it is impossible to see how they could receive a proper education. Yes, a time will come when Negroes and whites will walk on the same campus and we will share the same classrooms. Sadly, that day is not today.
As long as schools are safe.
Public discourse is about protecting the sanctity of the public space. As you can see, this clip demonstrates that because of our free speech rights, minds still have the opportunity to change in actions that will greatly benefit society. Free speech is a vehicle of change in consciousness. But when you are a public official or one upholding the Constitution, how do you differentiate the boundaries between your public and private space? public and private, even though they support one another, but sometimes they are best to keep separate. Arnett provides a pointed example in the textbook of both you and your roommate attending class at a public university, where you discuss public ideas about current events. But once you return to your dorm, you can have a private conversation with confidential information and speak less proper. Let's talk about how the public and private collude. The invasion of banality. Arnett states that the invasion of banality is an attempt to make the public arena a private place of agreement, where one moves private commonplaces into a public form of banality, a form of extreme commonness, taking away their uniqueness and special nature. An example of this is groupthink or not having full disclosure of information. However, a major disruptor of this relationship is technology. It's eroding the means of private space. Just ask Facebook live streaming. But with technology comes an easier medium for maintaining accountability, moving us to metaphor number 3. The good of public accountability protects diversity of ideas, engagements of decision-making, and provides a bread trail for following the actions and words of those making the decision. In a scholarly journal by Stiglitz, the work of Amnesty International calling for greater government accountability is expounded upon. Keeping public information secret for personal gain is wrong, and citizens deserve the right to know with this moment in history, because with this moment in history, you have the ability through technology to monitor what public officials and government agencies are doing. This journal calls for greater transparency and provides anecdotes and a historical record to validate its claims. Now I want to conclude with the words of James Madison, the author of the First Amendment, as he's quoted in this journal. He says, quote, "Meaningful participation in democratic processes requires informed participants. Secrecy reduces the information available to the citizenry, holding their ability to participate meaningfully." As this journal comes to an end, a possible way to remedy this illness is through legislation or a constitutional amendment. The next time you are in the public arena, remember your right to free speech and transparency. And notice how this is covered up. Thank you.